host of The Source of Inkwell, live on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. You can check out this broadcast a number of ways. You can go to TuneIn, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, and type in KUAW. We'll pop right up. And I believe we should be on Roku. Yeah, we're on Roku as well, so you can check us out on Roku TV. So KUAW is expanding, and we're expanding because of our viewers, because of our listeners, and because of your donations, and we really appreciate that. You can give us a call at the station at 816-599-6893, and you can hit us up. I've been gone for a little while because I had football practice. I had to coach, and then I came back last week with my students for RMS Radio, and that was a great show. So if you haven't checked that one out, go back a week ago and pull up that show and see how well those kids are doing. But this is my first show back into the saddle of a solo flight for a while. So hopefully this broadcast is very beneficial to you. I was doing some thinking and some pondering based on a lot of things that I've been encountering. And I came across a philosophy that I've heard someone say on a particular television show. And it was talking about the brown bag philosophy. The brown bag philosophy was pretty much back in the day, the local corner was seen as a poor man's lounge because, let's be real, a lot of brothers could not go and afford a drink in particular bars and lounges because it was a little bit expensive. So what they would do is they would go out there on the corners and enjoy nice weather, have a nice occasional drink, and catch a glimpse of probably a nice looking woman or two. That's what, brothers did back then. However, it was seen as cheap entertainment. And it was all good. You go out there, hang out with your friends, enjoy yourself, enjoy your time, and just enjoy each other's company. However, local authorities started busting heads when they saw people out there just drinking in public, because public drinking led to possible public intoxication, which was a bad look for the community. So, of course, that became an issue for the patrons in this special lounge. So someone came up with an idea. And this idea was a Nobel Prize winning idea at the time. And that particular idea was to put the bottle in a brown paper bag, concealing the contents of said bag. Now, with doing that, that kind of worked on both ends at the time period. It worked on the end for the patrons to have the concealed beverage, and it also worked for the police because they couldn't see what was going on inside the bag. Therefore, it freed them up to deal with bigger issues. So, think about that. The brown bag covered the small issue to focus on bigger issues. So instead of the police, harassing and dealing with individuals at this lounge, dealing with a small issue, the brown bag concealed that to where the police can focus on bigger issues. So I sat and thought about that, and I said, wow, okay, bag the small issue to focus on the bigger issue. That makes sense. I'm not going to deal with this gentleman over here drinking in public, whereas I can free up my time and my resources to deal with bigger issues. Well, I looked at the situation that we're in right now with education, and education has it flipped. Education bags big issues and only focuses on small issues. And I say that again. They bag the big issues to put more emphasis on smaller issues. And I've been teaching for a while now, and I've seen school systems deal with majors and minors on a scale that was totally obscure. For example, you have students who have a dress code issue, and you have schools focusing more on kids pulling their pants up or kids wearing the appropriate clothing versus the bigger issues like the fighting and the disrespect. You have schools dealing with, hey, we have kids that have electronic devices. They have their cell phones out. But you're not dealing with the bigger issues like bringing weapons to school. You have schools dealing with wearing the hoods in class or in the halls. But you're not dealing with the other issues, the bigger issues like the fighting and the bullying. So I feel that when you have this situation going on in schools, you're putting all your emphasis and all your resources on this small issue. Whereas when you're focusing more on this small issue, you're turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to larger issues. And when you let these larger issues go unchecked, it wears down on the individuals who's being affected the most. And that's your teachers and your students who are there to learn. This conundrum has been a perplexing issue for a while for me. I mean, you're seeing a lot of individuals leave school systems. And when you do that and you only focus on the small stuff, you let the bigger issues that go unchecked open up the door for even bigger issues. You know, community issues, parent issues. A gentleman spoke with me today, and he said, hey, you know, I got a problem. And I said, well, what's going on with that? He said, well, you know, this kid's being ragged on about the whole hood issue, but we have a bigger issue. He said, I sat there and saw some teachers come in and say, hey, look, the website's open. And I said, was it a website to apply somewhere else? He said, yeah, they were applying somewhere else. And I said, wow, okay. And he said they were applying because teachers said, look, I went to school to get a degree. I'm a highly educated individual, and I'm a darn good teacher. But I do not come to work every day to be called the B word. I took it to my administration. Nothing happens. I'm worth more than that. And I couldn't get mad at that. Because, see, we have a big issue that's not being checked. I mean, coming to work and being called a derogatory name daily is an issue. Now, of course, someone's going to say, well, then they're not cut out for the job. No, they are cut out for the job. But the job is not respecting that teacher by bagging that big issue. They're concealing that big issue. See, we have schools that go around, and we're all, we're data driven. And there's nothing wrong with being a data driven district, because that's the end thing. Wherever you go, you hear people say, the data says, the data reflects. Upon viewing the data tells you, it gives you a good look at what's going on in your district and in your schools. Now, people getting slick. Think about it. You got these video games out here, and you have all these cheat codes. You have life hacks. People are cheat coding and life hacking school data. There's a manipulation going on. Just like Thanos, you have that reality stone. You have people who have a reality stone, and they're changing how things look. For example, a kid hauls off and does a big issue, all right? But they bag it up and make it like it's small. And a lot of data that you see with behavior and academics and discipline is manipulated. And because it's being manipulated, it's a false sense of what really is. So you have people buying into a concept or being a vested party into an entity that's giving out false concepts. And when you have these false concepts, people come in and they're like, wow, I'm stuck, or I didn't know this was going on. And then you got one of two things. Either you expose the lie or you keep it going. And sometimes exposing that lie cuts funding. Exposing that lie cuts credibility. Therefore, you let that lie go to keep that funding and that credibility. And that credibility going. And all in the grand scheme of things, it's hurting the student, while someone else's pockets are getting fatter. And I guarantee you, the person's pocket is getting fatter is not in that school building. See, a lot of your central office staff, they go and they make these backroom deals to make money for themselves. Now, I'm not saying every school district is like that, but a good chunk of them are. Because, see, now you see school districts, they don't even hire individuals who are educationally based. They hire individuals who have a business mindset. They make your school a business or a political mindset. Will they make your children political pawns? And that's another aspect I'm gonna get into later. See, when you sit up here and you allow this stuff to happen in your school systems, you have the situation that's happening with Central High School. Now, when I grew up, Central High School was the one of the premier schools to be in, because back in the day, black folk couldn't go to certain schools. I believe it was Lincoln, Purcell, and Central were the premier schools for people for black people in the Kansas City, Missouri area. I went to Southwest, and when I went into Southwest, I looked up and I saw all. I mean, they had like all of the individuals before you up in there, and they were all white. I had no connection. The neighborhood we were in was a predominantly white neighborhood, and that neighborhood did not want those black kids there. And a particular politician, and I know I'm gonna get some flack for this, but a particular politician allowed the individuals in that neighborhood to have their way, and the school was shut down. It was very sad. Now, originally, I wanted to go to Central because my dad went to Central, uncles and aunts went to Central, a lot of my friends were going to Central, because, I mean, it was seen as a school that was made for us. And Central had a very, very strong, and they still do, alumni chapter. I mean, to this day, Central's alumni chapter is strong. Southwest, so-so. So I really wanted to go to that school, and it really hurt me when I saw that that was one school that they were trying to close down. And I'm not surprised because they had their eyes on Central for a long time. I remember at one time they wanted Central to be, I guess, a predominantly white school, but the alumni shut that down. See, with schools like that, you really mask those big issues, but then it's not that you're hiding them, it's you're holding on to them to where soon you can open up that bag and release all those issues out and show, look at the issue here, look here. Now, like I told my students, it's messed up that you have a predominantly, your school board does not match the population that's being served. So what am I saying? If you have a predominantly black school district, but your school board does not reflect that, that's an issue. Or if you have school board members who don't have kids in that in that school district, that's an issue. How can you decide what goes on with children in schools that your kids don't go to, or won't go to, or you don't look like those kids in that school district, or their parents? So what connection do you have? It doesn't make sense. So already, you're part of the problem. You are concealing things. You're concealing the truth in that district. Because if your school district is 90% black, your school board should reflect that. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, Tyrone, you can't say we can have an all-black board. Well, hold on. You've been having all white things for centuries. I mean, seriously, think about that. Your population's leadership should be based on the population that it serves. It is what it is. If you are a part of a school board, either your child should have been in that school system, or you would want your kids to go in that school system. Matter of fact, I got one for you. How many board members do you see actually going into these schools, sitting down with your kids and talking to them, or reaching out to parents? Got a better one for you. How many central office staff do you see actually going into these schools and talking to kids, talking to teachers, or reaching out to parents? Very far and few in between. We don't see that much. We don't. But they're the main ones wanting to shut down your schools, or when you reach out for assistance, they're not there. Got another one for you too. Let's talk about another issue that's hitting up. See, we like to rag on what teachers aren't doing, and I get that. There are things that teachers don't do. You have issues in every profession, but I will not sit here and allow someone to rag on my profession. Because see, you have parents out here who kind of miss the whole mark. See, it takes a village to educate a child. That means parents, admin, central office staff, and building administration, and classified staff all has to work together. But now someone has the ideal that it's parents versus teachers. You have parents that will use central office staff to bully teachers. It happens. You have parents who sit up here, and I get that. They're your child. And you know what? My son is the best thing that came from me. So, of course, I feel sometimes my son can do no wrong. But reality hits in and says, yes, my son does do wrong. So, parents, if your child does wrong, your child makes mistakes, your child has fault, and it's okay because kids are supposed to make mistakes in school. It's the teacher's job to reach out to the parent and say, look, your child is having issues here. Let's work together on that. So if a teacher calls you and says, hey, look, your child is having an issue with behavior or attendance or academics, we're not attacking you. But when you come out and send out these bullying emails, you're attacking us. Don't attack a teacher for trying to who trying to get assistance for you for their child. Because when it all comes down to it, me and you fighting is not helping out your child. Now, it's to the point to where teachers are actually leaving because of parents. There are parents being allowed to do these things. Matter of fact, let's take it a step further. There are people that don't want to coach because of parents yelling at coaches, telling coaches how to coach. No disrespect, I understand that your child played for a Pee Wee AAU team. That's great. But the way that coach coaches is different than the way the school coaches. So stop trying to say, well, this other coach. If your child's not getting playing time, I understand that's an issue. There's ways to go around that. But rushing the field or coming and standing behind a coach and yelling at that coach is not a way to fix it. You have individuals who don't even want to be officials for schools anymore. You know why? Because parents are being allowed to rush the field and get in the face of an official. I have a cousin that's a comic. Shout out to Justin Leon if you never reached out and looked at some of his stuff. I strongly recommend hit him up. I think he has YouTube videos out there. But anyway, he got onto the news one time shortly after the Will Smith and Chris Rock debacle. Either way it goes, no matter whose side you're on, you should not rush the stage on anybody. He made a good point. You're not going to rush the stage on me. As a teacher, you're not going to bust up in my classroom on me. As an official, you're not going to rush the field or the court on them. They're doing their job. If they're not putting their hands on your kid, restrain yourself. There's ways to go about getting your point across. And running up on the field and threatening an official is not a way to do it. We can't do that. It does not look right. Your child sitting right there watching you show your natural behind because they didn't get playtime or you didn't agree with the call. They're human. They have errors. You make errors too. How would you feel if I went to your job and put my hands on you because you made a mistake? Oh, I got one for you. Check this out. How would you feel if I was sitting at my job waiting on you to come pick up your child and you were late? Not 5 minutes late, not 10 minutes late, but 2 hours late. There are many teachers and coaches that will take a child home because no one's answering the phone to go home and drop off their child to see that the adult is sitting at home just chilling. So how would you feel if I walked up in your house and put my hands on you? That wouldn't be right. How would you feel? I got one for you. One of my teachers made a good point. She said she called a parent, and the parent said, I don't want you to bother me on my job with this. That teacher said, hold on. Your child is interrupting me while I'm teaching, distracting other students, and being profane in class. Your child is interrupting me on my job. Therefore, I'm interrupting you on your job. You got to be a parent. Now, you got some parents, and I'm not busting up on parents, but let's be real here. Your child is the best part of you. They're supposed to be. Therefore, there are some things that your child may accomplish that you may not have accomplished yet. I don't know, maybe making it on a football team or being successful on a football team. Don't live your life through your child to where if something happens, you make that mistake to cost your child game time. Now, there are times where the actions of adults affect kids. When the elephants tussle, the grass is the only thing that suffers. If you have a parent and a teacher going at it, that kid is suffering. They are. Let's be civilized. Let's talk. And guess what? While a parent and a teacher is going at it over something very minor, who do you think's watching? Maybe an administrator. Maybe a central office person. Yeah. Let's be real here. To encounter parents. And if you're afraid to deal with a parent, sitting back and allowing that parent to curse out a teacher or threaten a teacher because you're afraid to tell that parent what they can and can't do in your school, that's an issue. Because see, now that teacher is being put through a barrage of insults and harassment because you, as the administrator or the central office staff, won't go and put that, I'm going to give that parent protocol. This is how you do it. And parents, if you have an issue with a teacher, there's a way to go about doing it. You talk to that teacher first. And if you and that teacher can't come to a resolution, then you go to the building admin, probably the vice principal first. Then the building principal. Then that individual is over that building principal, then central office staff, and then your board. Because parents, if you have an issue with a teacher grading something, you don't jump right to the board. It doesn't look right. It does not. It's all about going through protocol. Because I know it's an end thing, Mr. Walker, for people to go and sue school districts. Yeah, it happens. But I guarantee you, any lawyer in their right mind will ask you, did you go through the proper channels before you want to come with this lawsuit? And for the most part, most individuals don't. And for the most part, certain parents are the aggressor. Now, note, I'm not saying that teachers are perfect. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, don't get caught up with closing the bigger issue and focusing on a small issue. Yeah, your child did this, but what is your child being allowed to do? Now, in schools, kids are being allowed to do certain things. Now I'm going back on teachers on this. Now, let me ask you a question. Think about how you raise your child. And then think about what kids are being allowed to do in the school building. And if you're one of those individuals that's allowing kids to do certain things that you won't allow your kid to do, you're part of the problem. Now, I've addressed central office staff. I've addressed parents. Now I got to address teachers too. Now, I sat there and heard a guy sit up here. There was two kids that said the N-word to each other. And I looked at him. And he allowed the kids to say it. Wow, really? Now, I sat and talked to some elders in my community. And they said sometimes when people don't correct a child's behavior, they don't correct that child's behavior because they feel that's what that child is. I had a teacher tell me one time that, I don't address kids using racial slurs towards one another because I don't know how to do that. Simple. Tell them don't say it. Well, as a white woman, I feel I can't say that. No, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Tell that kid don't use that language. Guess what? If I was at work and I use that language towards another coworker, I don't have a job. But see, that's the thing. We're allowing kids to say and do things that if we do it, we lose our jobs. If we did it, we get punched in the mouth. If we did it, our kids would get taken away. Or our kids wouldn't respect us. Or something more detrimental. See, what we're doing is we're allowing school rules to put a brown bag over huge issues and allow small issues to be the focus. But because you're bagging up these big issues, you're allowing our kids to be statistics. And I will not allow children, especially ones who look like me, be statistics. You look on television all the time and you see people who look like our kids murdered. People who look like our kids detained in custody. People who look like our kids drug all through mess. People who look like our kids who have things taken away because certain issues aren't checked when they're younger. They were always told, I was always told that there are certain things that if kids don't learn at a certain age, they lose it. They will not have it as an adult. There are people who are my age who are not grown, but they are adults. I will say that again. There are people who are my age who are not grown, but they are adults. Yeah, you are adult age, but you don't have a grown mindset. You don't. Because you still do things as if you were that middle school child because things weren't checked. Things weren't consistent. Mommy and dad said no, but a school official said, yeah, I got one better for you. A school official said, yeah, but I won't say nothing to your mama and daddy. Teachers, you did not go to school to become a teacher to be kids' friends. I don't have 13 and 14-year-old friends. No, I am their authoritative figure. I am an extension of their parents. Someone said, Mr. Gethers, you have a secret. What's the gift that you have with dealing with parents? It's not a gift. It's common sense. I tell mom and dad, I am an extension of you from the home in the classroom. So I ask parents, what's the no? What shouldn't kids do? And then when I see the shouldn't do in my classroom or in the halls, I become the extension of mom and dad and say, look, you can't do that. You can't wear that. You can't say that. You must learn that. Because if they disrespect that, I got mom and dad backing me because I backed them. That's the secret. And it's not really a secret. It's common sense. Because it takes a village to raise that child. A village. Forrest Tyson says it all the time. I'm sorry, Mr. Forrest Tyson says it all the time. Hello, village. We work together. Because, not to be a cliche, the children are the future. A kid cannot be productive in the future if you're allowing nonsense. Deion Sanders, you might want to watch this video. I'm going to share it too. He sat there and talked to his team and told them what we can't do. We can't do that. Teachers, we can't argue with parents. Parents, we can't argue with teachers. Admin, we can't allow teachers and parents to argue. Central office, we must create an atmosphere where principals and building admin can have a successful atmosphere for teachers to teach and parents to parent, while administrators administrate. That's how it should be, because that builds community. Now let me get on community. How much am I doing good on time? Okay. Community. Community is where individuals can live and work and function together as one. You have your schools educating. You have your parents parenting in their homes. You have your businesses offering goods and services. You have the consumer patronizing these services. But then you have politicians. Politicians are elected from the people. Okay? We vote for that person to be in office because that person in office is a reflection of the people. That person in office works for the people. But I don't see that. Now, the people have been misused enough. I'm tired of getting text messages. First of all, how'd you get my phone number? You're texting me, asking for your support. Okay? It's one thing you send a mailer out. But now you're texting me on my personal device asking for my support. Now, I will say that there have been some politicians that when I reach out, I respond back, they hit back and we have actual conversations. Or I would say, hey, I have a radio broadcast. Please come to KUAW Radio and deliver your platform. They've done that. However, I'm seeing something different. Now, I'm seeing that philosophy. We talked about this in class. we spoke about the Holocaust, how when those Jewish brothers and sisters got off of those trains, you would think that the German soldiers would be the ones getting them. Typically, it was elevated Jews in the concentration camps that was going in and ushering them from one spot to the next. If you think about the enslavement of African people, no, Europeans didn't go all through Africa taking African brothers and sisters. They weren't doing that. They had Africans who would go to these tribes and bring them over. So what am I saying? Your oppressor would send someone who looks like you to live amongst you to allow the oppressor to come in and oppress them. So what am I saying? Politicians are the exact same way. And there are particular politicians that are in our own city, Kansas City, Missouri, that do that. In our own state that do that. I'm allowed to say names, right? Okay. Well, first off, Trudy Bush Valentine is the heir to the Bush beer throne, and she reached out to me. I'm sorry, I got the text message from her, and I'm like, okay, well, what can you do for me? What can you do for our community? I got the text message to say it. As the kids would say, I got my receipts. I reached out and I said, hey, I'm with KUAW Radio. Would you like to come in and sit down or do a phone interview or a Zoom? Because you're the one running for office. I'm not. And the person said, I'll get back to you. Then I started getting all these robo messages again. I said, I guess they didn't get the memo. No, I'm not going to allow that to happen. Then what? Then I'm riding down the street and I hear Emmanuel Cleaver. Oh, yeah, I endorse Trudy Bush Valentine. She's the real deal. Okay, you're talking about all this civil rights stuff and all that, but then you're endorsing an individual who is hitting up individuals in the urban community, but when a very profound urban radio station reaches out back to her, it falls on deaf ears? Nah. Don't send someone who looks like me into my community to get me to get your vote. It's not going to work like that. It's not. I mean, it was just said that Trudy Bush Valentine was here in the city. Where did she go? I mean, did she come anywhere? No. If you are trying to say that you're of the people, you need to be of the people. Now, I know, Miss Trudy Bush Valentine is a registered nurse. But when it all comes down to it, she can stop nursing and not even be a politician and still be taken care of because of where she's from. Now I'm not knocking you for having a wealthy family. That's cool. That's good. But my thing is, if you're trying to come in to the community and get support from the community, you need to come in yourself. Don't send someone as your administrator. Which leads me to Emmanuel Cleaver. The thoughts and views of this radio broadcast does not reflect the thoughts and views of KUAW. I don't care who you vote for, but I have not been a fan of Cleaver for a while because Cleaver has shown he's not a fan of us. And I say that to say that that politician I told you about that helped Southwest get closed down, that was Emmanuel Cleaver. I've had an issue with Cleaver since I was in high school because he actually came into our school building and said, hey, what can I do to help you? And myself and some students said, hey, look, can we sit down and talk to the community so they can actually see that we're the kids, that we're good kids here? And he said, yeah, I set that up. And it never happened. And that left a bad stain in my mouth for a while. When I became 18 years old. And I'm sorry, I'm a little shaken up by this because, I hear people say what a great man he is, what a great pastor he is. And I'm not knocking all that because your relationship with him is cool. And that's good. I'm not saying what you should do based on what I'm saying, but I'm saying that there's more to a person than just what you see. Because I'm sure that I'm great to some and probably not great to others. And I get that. However, what you did to children was wrong. And you immediately took the side of the community. And if you look at Southwest is in a pretty affluent community. And there were a lot of kids that didn't live in that neighborhood that went to school there. So, of course, it was an issue. And also, it was some racially motivated things too. And that school was designed, it was used as a dumping ground to appease the community to shut the school down so they can take control of that school. It happens. It happens. Get that out to put this in. It's called gentrification. That school was being gentrified. That's what they wanted. And we all felt that Mayor Cleaver at the time let us down. And it was very heartbreaking. And when I was able to vote, he was a congressman, and I was very reluctant to vote for him. I mean, it's like, why should I vote for somebody because they look like me? I mean, no. What have you done for me? My mother used to always say that. What have you done for me? What have you done for me? You know, I mean, I remember there was an issue with, matter of fact, this community right here. There's 2 gas stations that's leaking oil into the into the soil, into the air, and into the water. And people are getting sick. I remember he came in with another politician and discussed that and pretty much told the people they had nothing to worry about. The issue is still going on right now. So you're not really taking care of your constituents. I remember Emmanuel Cleaver was going against Ryan Dirks. And Ryan Dirks was saying some things that was not true about Emmanuel Cleaver, Congressman Cleaver. And we reached out. As a matter of fact, Ryan Dirks wanted to debate Cleaver. And I remember a comment was made that Cleaver only comes to reputable radio stations. Wow. This is a station in your area. And this station supports individuals who look like you. And for that comment to be made, that did not sit well with me, especially a radio station that peeped game where an individual was doing some whether you like Cleaver or not, I did not like what was being said about Reverend Cleaver. Congressman Cleaver's name was being subjected to it was dirty journalism. It was dirty. Lies were being told about Congressman Cleaver. Now, here's the thing. I was upset and I reached out and I was pretty much told no. We get it. You're a big boy. Big man, and you can take care of your own business. We get that. However, I wanted to show that despite what goes on, we will not allow someone to talk about someone from our community like that. You will not come into our community and talk ill and spread lies about someone. Hey, if you're running up against someone politically, that's fine. That's cool. But you will not sit and spread lies about someone that's untrue. And I remember calling Freedom Inc. like it was yesterday. And I said, hey, I'm Tyrone Gethers, Jr. with KUAW Radio. I wanted to call and see if we can get are you doing a watch party so we can come and talk to you about, your election? No. Oh, I'm not doing a watch party. Okay, is he available for comment? No, I'm not talking to him. I mean, you're right there. I mean, you could have gave me like at least a minute. I'm right there. And my thing is, politicians, stop saying you can't talk to people if people are the ones that got you where you are. Our votes got you there. Now, I'm not saying you got to, kiss our behinds or anything, but if someone's asking to speak to you about an issue, that's your job. You work for us. We voted for you. And the messed up part about it, Cleaver blew me off, but Cleaver's opponent welcomed me with open arms. Oh, it was, I felt very uncomfortable at the Dirks watch party. Very uncomfortable. But the sad part about it is they welcomed me in. And when I looked up, I saw people from the community, who looked like those in our community out there. And I'm like, nah, I can't be around this. Because I'm not going to allow this rhetoric to make me an individual that allows the oppressor to come in and oppress people who look like me. It's not going to work. And another thing that really messes me up is KUAW is a very reputable radio station. Told the students last week, we have a worldwide reach. I had people listening to, I don't want to say the Tyrone Gethers show, but the Source of the Inkwell in Dubai. I don't know anyone in Dubai. I don't. But I remember one time we pulled some schematics and it said, yeah, during this time, during your show, people were listening to your show in Dubai. That really tripped me out. That was cool. So one thing I want to give to politicians is the black community is more than whatever you think the stereotype is. Now, think about it. Every time you see a politician go into the black community, they go into the hip hop community or whatever stereotype they think black people are. And it really pains me to say that, but that's what you see. I'm gonna go to this hip hop area right here. But guess what? Hip hop is not just black culture. I'm looking at Mr. Walker right now, and I mean, I haven't heard Mr. Walker bump near a rap CD. But does that make him less black than my man Kev, who's a hip hop connoisseur? No. We transcend that stereotype. So when I see politicians only go to the hip hop version of black culture, I don't like that, because we're more than just that. You are putting us in a bag. You are bagging us and saying, this is only what I see black people as. You're putting the scholars, the people who are jazz connoisseurs, the classical pianists, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, the speakers, the preachers, the ministers, the mothers, the fathers, the sons, the daughters. You're putting all those in a bag only to leave out that minor issue. You know, we go beyond the jogging suits and we go beyond your stereotypes. See, D.L. Hughley said it best, the worst place to be, and I'm just paraphrasing it, the worst place to be for a black man is in the mind of someone that's racist. I don't want to be your stereotype. Our people are beyond your stereotype. Our community is beyond your stereotype. You know, don't think that, I mean, like, you know, we talked about persuasive appeals. I mean, sitting and talking to black folk is not slumming. Because if you really go and talk to people of the community, you will see a wealth of knowledge and resources right here. I mean, the bulk of your constituents are the ones you avoid. It's real talk. The bulk of your constituents are the ones that you avoid. And because you do that, I mean, it's an issue. I mean, think about that. I mean, you got people who want your votes to represent the people on a large scale. But as soon as they get those votes, they forget where they come from real quick. Ain't that right, Mr. Walker? People forget where they come from real quick. Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens very frequently. Now, am I saying that, you know, Congressman Cleaver or, you know, your Frank Whites or your Quentin Lucas? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not. What I'm saying is, when you will open up the door to allow someone like Trudy Bush Valentine, I'm sure she's great. But when you allow someone to, you know, when you endorse someone like that, hold them accountable. Say, look, yeah, I'm going to endorse you, but I want you to go in there and talk to the people in my area. Sit amongst them. Get to know them yourself. Because I'm not going to sit up here and say, hey, look, you know, I'm going to endorse person A, and you don't come into my community to speak to the people in my community. Got a problem with that. What you're doing is you're selling out your people. And when you sell out your community, it goes all the way down and affects our kids. Because what goes on in your major elections, it trickles down. And your kids are the ones that are affected. And One of my friends on social media, who I actually met, Mad Marlin, had a sign that said, "Stop killing my kids." Um, you need to stop killing our kids. Stop killing our kids at the polls. Stop killing our kids when you don't hold people accountable. Stop killing our kids when you refuse to parent. Stop killing our kids when you refuse to teach. Stop killing our kids when you refuse to administrate. When it all comes down to it, when the elephants tussle, the kids are the only ones who suffer. They're the grass that get trampled on up under the feet of arguments that adults shouldn't even have. Next Tuesday is very important. It's election day. And your vote does matter. It does count. When I go and vote, I'm looking at my son and I'm looking at my students, because what I click at the polls dictates how they're being educated. And right now, the educational field is being raped of its resources. Good teachers are being taken away, all because of decisions, all because of bagging up those major issues. We need to focus on the major issues, get our hands dirty. It takes a village, it takes a community to educate our kids and to eradicate issues that affect the learning of our kids. If I can put my differences aside and work with someone that I don't get along with for the sake of children, you should do it too. Stop opening up the door to allow oppression to come in and oppress our children. I think I'm coming up on my time.
About 10 minutes.
I got 10 minutes?
5. Well, 8.
8 minutes. Okay, I got 8 minutes. So I strongly urge, if you are a parent, I want you to sit and think of ways to work with the teacher to assist your child. If you are a teacher, think about ways to work with the parent to educate your student, because the kid's going to mess up. That's what they're supposed to do. Your job is to make sure that those mistakes turn into learning steps. If you're an administrator, find out ways where parents can be held accountable, teachers can be held accountable, and you as the administrator can be held accountable. Accountability goes on all ends, because when that child fails, we all fail. We do. We do. So think about that. It goes beyond your classroom. It goes beyond your household. It goes beyond your paycheck. Kids need people who care. Kids need a community who cares. Put people in position that care for our kids and care for our community. It's time to take things that need to be taken out of that brown bag. We need to bag up the real issues and not the issues that are trivial. We need to have relevant data. We need to have decisions made from individuals who care about us. I'm Tyrone Gethers Jr., and you've been listening to The Source of the Inkwell. In the Inkwell, education overflows. And like ink, let it stain permanent. God bless. See you next week at the polls.